Good evening. You are watching episode 18 of BAK Talk on the BAK Talk Bros channel. I am the K in BAK Keys, and Aaron, the A, and Gooch. Brian will be with us at some point tonight. We will get all of us here tonight, and we will be talking about Chiefs and 49ers Super Bowl, and who knows what else, guys. So, yeah. We're going to have a good show here, and it'll be even better if you guys make some great comments and ask some great questions. Yeah, we're going to have some fun. So with all that said, hang with us. We're going to hit that intro.
Y'all ready for them Chiefs? Y'all ready for them Chiefs?
Well, we want to thank you guys for watching this episode. It is Super Bowl week. I don't know about you guys, but I am thrilled. Been probably consuming a little bit too much Chiefs 49ers content this week, too much social media, too much sports talk shows, just all around too much. But you know, what can I say? We got an exciting rematch of Super Bowl 54 here, as we're a few days away now from Super Bowl 58 at Allegiant Stadium, aka Arrowhead West in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hey, what do you guys know? That Super Bowl logo collar conspiracy is now put to dead, thankfully. And we can move on to every other excuse in the book, every other conspiracy still out there, including one that I've kind of gathered secondhand now from social media, that apparently the NFL is rigging the Super Bowl so that Taylor Swift can get Joe Biden reelected, which might be the best of all the dumb conspiracy theories that I've heard so far. We're not going to get too political into this. I will just say this, guys. If you think that even a majority of the NFL owners have that political affiliation to where they would be okay with that, then you really don't know much about football. If they were going to rig it in any way, it would definitely not be in that way. So I'll just leave it at that. And we're going to move on, at least from that conspiracy theory, because that one of all of them, well, maybe the logo one makes the least amount of sense, because you're very clearly tipping your hand if that logo conspiracy had been true. Right? Like, what's the point of that? But yeah, we're getting some crazy conspiracy theories. There's a lot of Chiefs hate out there. There's a lot of Taylor Swift hate out there. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point. For better or worse, the Kansas City Chiefs are now the team that every team outside of Kansas City hates. Every fan base outside of Chiefs Kingdom hates. So yeah, it, here's the thing. Like, if the NFL was to rig what team to win, it would probably be teams in a larger market, right? Or you would see probably the richest owners teams being the ones who are constantly playing in the Super Bowl, or at least some kind of round robin, or like some kind of rotation amongst the richest owners, right? Which means that probably about now, Walmart would have already bought their Super Bowl for the Broncos. That's not the case, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of whining. There's been a lot of whining this season. And, it started with Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico opening game of the season. That got the whining started right there, right off the bat. In a game the Chiefs lost all by one, but that really pushed some kind of narrative that the NFL through the refs was rigging games for the Chiefs, which again, the Chiefs lost that game. So, even the roots of that, I mean, it's absurd, but 'tis the football climate that we are now fans in. And so it is what it is. Pat, Travis, I don't think they really care if you want to turn them into the villains. I think they're having fun. Like, Pat's going to feed off of whatever you want to put out there. Yeah. Real KB is with us tonight, and Jeremy. Real KB, good to see you. Jeremy, good to see you. Real KB says if the NFL was rigging the Super Bowl, they would want a different team to win. Absolutely. And it would probably be a larger market team, right? A New York team, the Jets, the Giants, one of those teams would be ultra competitive. The Bears would be ultra competitive. The Cowboys would still be in it, type of thing. So yeah, the people out there peddling these excuses, it just doesn't make sense if you have a brain and you're thinking logically. But then again, do we really think that these people actually believe this stuff? Or they're just like emotionally regurgitating what they hear, and they're not really processing what they hear. They're not actually logically thinking through anything that they hear. Jeremy says, strong point, but really isn't the scripted talk just being fun? Hey, it is on my side, right? If you wanted to go into conspiracy theories and script talk, the fact that San Francisco 49ers play in California, most screenwriters are based out of Hollywood, California, which would mean that there's a great chance that the NFL script writers are based out of California and are 49ers fans. So they wrote a pro 49ers ending to this, right? And if you wanted to really go down there with this conspiracy theory, the NFL has been in talks with, I don't know if they finalized it, but they were apparently in talks with ESPN about taking over, I want to say the All 22, taking over kind of the NFL's, business, so to speak. And you can make the case that since ESPN is owned by Disney, that if this were the case, right, that the NFL, they're giving business to ESPN under Disney. Well, maybe they're also employing Disney script writers as well. And, it can make some sense because Disney script writers are terrible. They just recycle stuff from the past. And yet, speaking of recycling, here we are, Super Bowl 58, a recycled version of Super Bowl 54. So if you wanted to go down that conspiracy theory, there you go. But I think I said on another episode about a month and a half back, what about if conspiracy theories, right? What if there's a branch of the government that is in charge of planting conspiracy theories so that they can take things that really happen, they can plant these conspiracy theories to get the people who are paying attention off on the bunny trail, and they think that everybody else is off on the bunny trail, but really they're the ones that are off on the bunny trail because the government is planting the conspiracy theories that they think their fellow conspiracy theorists are uncovering. It's really a government conspiracy. I'm just having fun, but yeah, Real KB says the crazies. There are crazies on Twitter. There are a lot of crazies on Twitter. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate you guys too. Hopefully, Gooch can get in here soon. Aaron, I believe, is eating his dinner or working on making his dinner before he has to go to work. So hopefully he can get in here quickly. But at least we know he's not making like ramen or something like that. So, right, because he'd already be in here if that was the case. Yeah, maybe Buffalo. Maybe that's a story arc that the script writers have deemed one that they need to let build up a little bit more, another season or two, but yeah, you would think that the script writers would have made the way Buffalo season ended like that up until Kansas City, that would have been, your fairy tale arc right there with a triumphant entry into the Super Bowl for the first time in the Josh Allen era, fresh off of a Madden cover, right? Buffalo's not big. They're kind of the bastard city of New York, as I gather it from Bills fans crying about the governor of New York and the decision making in that state. They're kind of an afterthought, but yeah, and again, and as Jeremy says there, the Jets wouldn't be perennial bottom dwellers. The Bears wouldn't be perennial bottom dwellers, right? I mean, you got to make it make sense. So, hey, Daryl, glad you're with us this evening. So, yeah, we're just having a little fun here. If you guys missed it, 49ers owner is still whining about Super Bowl 54. Nick Bosa stirring the pot a little bit. Yeah, this is going to be a fun game. I'm always going to be nervous for games, and if I'm not nervous, that makes me nervous. Because we say it all the time, or I say it all the time, any given Sunday, and we've seen that basically every week of the season and even a few playoff games here. But that and games aren't played on paper. The way that you can logically unpack that they should go doesn't necessarily go that way. And it's been interesting to see 49ers Twitter seemingly already preloading excuses, again, with their owner complaining about refs, players complaining about refs, complaining about that Super Bowl 54, because once again, it's Bill Vinovich who is the Super Bowl referee in this game. You have the 49ers complaining about their practice field being wet at UNLV. For those who are not familiar with the way things go, the AFC and NFC rotate every year who's the home team and who's the away team. That's their system for, trying to make it fair. The home team gets that home stadium practice facility to train in, and the away team has their own nice facilities to accommodate them. In this case, and I haven't seen exactly what the story is here, but apparently UNLV has a turf field, and somebody, whether it was the 49ers or the NFL, wanted to put grass over that for the 49ers to practice on this week. It apparently wasn't sloppy. It was just kind of spongy, and they were complaining about that. So 49ers fans are, very, very deep right now into the victimhood complex, along with the other 30 fan bases who are joining the 49ers in the battle, apparently, against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm trying to be on my best behavior. Last week, I kind of, if I saw something stupid, I felt the need to correct it. This week, I'm trying to just ignore all the idiots because for whatever reason, there's nothing like a game against the Chiefs that brings out the lowest of low information fans out there. And don't hear me saying this. Don't hear what I'm saying wrongly. Because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a low information fan in the way of we all start out somewhere. We all start out at some point as a blank slate as a fan. But it's the people who have been fans of their team forever who still don't know, basic things about football, basic things about their team, the fact that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest, some of these basic things. That's kind of like where the problem is. If you, and that's kind of how it is with life too. If you are okay without growing, there's something wrong. Because we all always have room to grow, and there is no reason to ever stop growing, to ever stop putting in the effort to grow. And so, and yes, this is part of my own personal belief system. I believe it strongly enough that in my mind, it might as well be fact, but that's how we all get in the fights that we all get in. But nonetheless, I think it's a great belief system because the alternative is squandered human potential, misery, just clinging to some kind of weird victim mentality where you're constantly looking for things to be outraged over. And that's what we're seeing with 31 other fan bases in the NFL right now. They are outraged because, and I know many people have pointed this out. People were expecting a break from Tom Brady and the Patriots dynasty. And we got it for a second with the Patriots dynasty. And finally, it didn't happen with the whole Tom Brady thing. He passed the baton to Patrick Mahomes before he left. And so people are kind of outraged. They thought that their team was going to get a chance. There would be no more dynasties. Whether the Chiefs win or lose this game, the Kansas City Chiefs right now are in the midst of a dynasty. We don't know how much longer it's going to go for. We expect a little bit longer, and by a little bit longer, I think a lot of Chiefs fans would say whatever Patrick Mahomes' career has left. But we don't know, right? We have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone 5, 10, 15 years from now. But those teams and those fan bases are all outraged. So we're in this weird position now as fans where we can either embrace their hate, we can try to combat it, we can do whatever. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, let's just enjoy our team, enjoy our team's success, enjoy their journey here, right? Daryl says Chiefs need to look as they did during the AFC Championship game. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. You have two really good offensive play callers in Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, two really good head coaches overall, right? When the 49ers are healthy, they are always in the NFC Championship game, hitting Super Bowls, most of those healthy years. Steve Wilkes is a great defensive coach. Spags is reaching at, depending on where you want to look at it, historic levels as a defensive coordinator, as an assistant coach. Like, I think if the Chiefs defense in this game continues to hold down yet another top offense in this Super Bowl, I think you have to figure out how Steve Spagnuolo is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or whatever it is for coaches. I don't care if he's an assistant coach. You got to figure that out, because at some point, this man he's going to have a whole hand of Super Bowl rings from a multitude of teams, including two of those rings coming from a team that was quarterbacked by Eli Manning, and his defense was scheming against Tom Brady. Like, you have to talk about Steve Spagnuolo's games. Coaching staffs in this game, it's a great matchup. The quarterback matchup, the quarterback matchup of any Super Bowl is always going to be one of the main drawing lines there. Mike in Sweden. Mike, good morning to you. We're still at nighttime, but good morning to you from tomorrow. Good to see you. I hope you enjoyed your vacation. I'm assuming you're back now, but maybe you're not. I'm assuming you're back, though. At some point, if you're not, that's not a vacation. You're like, you moved there. I'm kidding, but yeah, quarterback versus quarterback. That's always going to be like the big headline of the Super Bowl. Head coach versus head coach, and quarterback versus quarterback. Even though they're not facing each other here. You're still there, Mike. That's not a vacation. You moved. Let's just call it what it is. Mike moved to Thailand. No, I'm kidding. It would be nice to just get away and take a nice vacation. That's not a 1 week vacation or a 2 week vacation, but a nice extended, not rushed, just an enjoyable time. So that's not what the Chiefs are doing, though. Patrick Mahomes made sure everyone knew this is a business trip. If we win the Super Bowl, I will bring you guys back. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that, he's going to pay for like a whole hotel, a casino, for like a week and just let the guys go and have fun. I don't know if that means that he's going to get everyone a room and give them $1,000 worth of chips, or, what exactly he means by that. But apparently that's what he said. If they win the Super Bowl, he'll bring the guys back, so that they can have a vacation, a fun time in Vegas. But right now, it's all business. I think it was last week, Tom Brady, I forget what show he was on now, but he had mentioned after the Chiefs won, I believe, the AFC Championship game, that he texted a good friend of his who plays on the Chiefs, didn't say by name, to congratulate them. I think he said something about, congratulating Pat, but, just sending out his congratulations to them. And that got me thinking, who is Tom Brady's friend on the Chiefs, right? Because he had Blaine Gabbert as his backup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a couple of years. He had Justin Watson as a receiver there for a year, if I recall correctly. I don't think it was more than a year. He had Joe Thuney with him with the Patriots, I want to say 4 or 5 years, something like that, 3, 4, 5 years. I feel like there's one more guy that I might be forgetting there. And so, it got me thinking, who is it? Oh, Donovan Smith, right? His left tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he was in Tampa Bay. So it got me thinking, who's his friend? Who is it that he texted? Right. And that's kind of a great thing in a way, because that we have, what I say here, 3 guys from that Buccaneers offense from Super Bowl 55. And Tom Brady was like texting his teammates like every night at 11 o'clock, I think the story was, just telling them we're going to win the Super Bowl, right? I think it was basically like the same thing every single night, just like the same text, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady over the years really developed the mental part of the game. So, as I was thinking about this question, it's like, it's kind of great in that you have, multiple guys, 4 guys on this team who, understand that part of it. Whether they were with Brady, with the Patriots, like Joe Thuney and Belichick, or they were with Brady, with the Buccaneers, like Donovan Smith and Justin Watson and Blaine Gabbert. Because you learn these tricks, and especially Blaine Gabbert as the backup, right? I do not care to ever see him play a Chiefs game, but as a backup, as somebody who was Tom Brady's understudy for 2 years, like there's huge value in that. There's huge value for all of these guys that were with Tom for a year or 2 or 3. And I'm not saying that's going to give us an advantage, right? But there's something there. And Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings. So by the time he got to that last 1 or 2, he had a pretty good idea of the mental part of things. And here's Aaron. Oh, we both added him.
Yeah. We're good at that.
Yep. We great minds think alike, and Aaron and I often add each other or move somebody over at the same time and undo what the other one did. But yeah, I'll stop this now, guys, because Aaron doesn't like Tom Brady talk. But the point was, we're going to be in good position. Aaron, I'm sure that or Jeremy, I'm sure they might consider themselves friendly, but I believe the comment from Brady was like he told whoever it was to, to say something to Pat. So my assumption is that he was texting one of his former teammates. I think he implicitly said that it was one of his teammates. So, but Aaron, good to see you.
You too. Let me know if I need to adjust my mic. Seems pretty sensitive as well.
Yeah, you're sounding pretty good. Okay. We can actually see you. The light's pretty good. That Chiefs shirt you got on there looks really good.
Champions. Hey, KB. Hey, Mike. Hey, Daryl. What's going on, Jeremy? How's everybody today?
We are pumped up. We've talked about all the whining from the other 31 fan bases in the NFL, and especially the 49ers and their owner and their players and their fans.
Good to see you too, Jeremy. I'm doing good. I actually was making dinner, red beans and rice.
Yep. I told you guys it wasn't ramen.
No.
I said if it had been ramen, Aaron would have already been here.
Right.
I used to do it in college,
Trying
though.
to show it. I don't want it to fall out. Green beans go well with mine.
Yeah.
I made some adjustments to my mom's recipe, so angled for me and Liz because we like spicy. Mom's not a big spice person. Liz's
I love
mom
spicy.
is.
I'm there with you guys, Aaron and Liz. Hannah's not a spicy person, which is sad, but yeah. So we were talking quarterbacks, and yeah, I mean, we don't really need to say anything about Pat, right? He's
the best. That's all there is to say.
If there's anything to talk about in regards to Pat, it's going to be so unless Steve Wilks has decided to switch things up, which could take place because a lot of other defensive coordinators were putting things on tape this year that went against their tendencies, specifically when they faced Mahomes. If Steve Wilks doesn't change that, though, the 49ers defense plays a static defense like 80% of the time, right? 4 out of 5 plays, what you see pre-snap is what you're getting. There's no post-snap rotation. There's no like blitzing. There's no stunt. There's no defensive line stunts or anything.
Well, with that line, you don't have to.
Right, you don't have to. But yeah, that's one of the things though, like one of the biggest things that Pat struggled with a bit, and every quarterback, especially this year, offense was down this year, is all the post snap, rotations. And Spags has been at the top of it, right? You couldn't have two more opposite defenses as far as static looks and dynamic looks. Spags is changing everything post snap. I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but so that's going to be big because in a way, if they keep it that way, right? And I understand it to an extent, but if they keep it that way, it's taking away, and maybe they see that as a strength. It's taking away a lot of Pat's decisions. Like he's not having to, like he's been out there, like a computer pre-snap.
Hey, Denver Gator and Perry. Welcome in.
Yeah. Hey, Perry. Good to see you again. 2 nights in a row. You two, Denver, 2 nights in a row. Appreciate the Lions and the Broncos love. But yeah, like if it, that could be the case is they just want to say, okay, we're not gonna let Mahomes with his decision making, pick us apart. It's kind of like back in the Brady days where defenses went, fairly bland because Manning was going to pick you apart. You know what I mean? Hey, Tornado. We're hoping that Isaiah Pacheco breaks through on some big runs like a tornado. So yeah, I think that's tornado. The big thing. It is if they do that, is it going to neutralize Mahomes to an extent in that this is part of what makes him great? And essentially what you're doing, right, is it's kind of like we're going backwards in time, Aaron. I think is if we continue to see from the 49ers, it's going to be kind of like going back in time to like that 2021, 2022 Bengals defense playing us. In a way, right? Because Lou Anarumo did a lot of dropping 8 into coverage. and really taking away all the passing lanes. Well, 49ers like to come out in penny front, 5 down linemen and a linebacker. And then they stay static. So their secondary, they're dropping the secondary and the linebacker, and they're doing it at like an intermediate level. So they're taking away the intermediate pass. And, because they're dropping back basically in zone so much, all eyes are on the quarterback, all eyes are on the ball. So they're taking away the intermediate and they're taking away the shallow because they're breaking on the shallow as soon as the ball is thrown. Right. It really kind of seems a lot like what Lou Anarumo has been doing the last 2 or 3 years, and maybe to an extent a little bit, some of those Bronco games. But yeah, you got five men on the line, right? So you're basically telling Mahomes you're not going to run it because you got 6 in the box with the linebacker. Unless you're really, unless you beef up there, and you bring out your 12 personnel, it's really putting the pressure on our skill position guys, right? It's putting the pressure on Rashee Rice. It's putting the pressure on Travis Kelce. It's putting the pressure on McCole Hardman, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, whichever of these guys, MVS, Justin Watson, whichever of these guys plays. Sky Moore has been activated. So he is eligible to play in the Super Bowl. We have no idea what we're going to see. We have no idea, right? Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, some Noah Gray, probably MVS. And then after that, we have no idea. We have no idea if we're going to see Kadarius Toney, if we're going to see McCole Hardman, if we're going to see Sky Moore, and if we do, how much of them we're going to see.
Hey, Scott Province.
Yeah,
I just
Scott.
wanted to say, as far as their defensive line and everything, I think they've got the best front 7 in the league.
Talking about the 49ers?
Yes.
Yeah. But they have been ran on. As Perry said here,
Detroit
the Lions
tore them up, like Perry said. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The Lions tore them up in the run game like Taco Bell will tear you up. Speaking of Gooch's favorite food, Gooch is with us.
I did laugh at that. I'm just still trying to eat.
All right, boys.
How's it going, brother?
I'm going.
Are you still in the Indiana?
I'm actually driving back. I think I'm in Illinois now.
All right. Driving through Illinois.
Yeah, I am. Where am I? What does it say? Dietrich?
What's that?
Dietrich is the town I'm passing. Dietrich.
I don't know that one.
Never heard of
but I
it.
grew up in Chicago.
Effingham County. Is that still Indiana? That might still be Indiana.
How you doing, brother?
I'm making it. I know I am 5 hours from home, so I gotta be getting close to the loo at some point.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're in the middle of Illinois then.
It says I'll be home by 1, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great thing about leaving Indiana is you gain an hour.
Right.
Gooch doesn't gain anything. But yeah,
On the
we
contrary,
drove,
I gained great gas prices because getting gas in those states is killer.
In Indiana or the other states, because I can't imagine it's that expensive in Indiana with all those horse and buggies.
I haven't hit any of those yet, but yeah, I think
I hope not.
cheapest I found was $3.19.
never know with Gooch, he might swerve at it.
Yeah.
Depends on how I'm feeling.
It's my road.
I say that a lot to everybody. Hey, Daryl, what's up, brother? Mike, what's going on, man? What we talking about, boys? I'll join in.
Hey, we're talking right now about the 49ers static defense, and I was saying, to me, it reminds me of kind of what Lou Anarumo was doing the last 3 years, where, 49ers defensive line is going to get their pressure. Everybody else is going to be setting back in zone and taking away really the intermediate and crashing on the shallow. They're all going to have their eyes, moving forward here. So, it almost seems like because they're not doing anything post snap, that they're kind of taking away a lot of what value Patrick Mahomes brings to an offense, and really are going to make our skill position players be the difference against their defense.
That's an interesting take.
So
I just don't think I don't think their back end is good enough to take it away.
I was going to say something about driving from Chicago to out here growing up. It was 9 to 10 hours. So you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. And that's fair, Gooch. I mean, they certainly, I think I said last week, right? The 49ers have a great front seven. We have a great back seven. And Chris Jones. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. But all they really need to do is be able to close on our guys. But, again, that depends on what they're going to do, right? Are they going to play more man? If they try to have Charvarius Ward on Rice or Kelsey or even MVS, I don't think he's going to win most of those matchups, because unless he's changed his game since he was in Kansas City, he's got great long speed. He's not a twitchy guy. He's not moving laterally very well. If you try to go deep, like if you send MVS on a 9, he's got the long speed to stay with him, and now he turns around for the ball. But,
yeah, we know his limitations.
If he's got to run with someone horizontally, I think he's screwed.
Pretty much. We know his limitations. We know unless he actually turns around at the right time, that's when he could be dangerous. But
hey,
yeah,
Scott,
we'll
good to see you as well.
up.
Scott, he's driving through on his way back from Indiana, driving back to Missouri, or Misery, as I like to call it.
Thought you were a show me guy.
That is a intellectual slogan that I embrace, but I'm not from Missouri, so. But yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm not offended.
Gas here is a Perry. I don't know much about Canada, other than that $1 bills or whatever they call them in Canada are called loonies, and that $2 are called toonies. But I have no idea what the correct terminology is. But yeah, I also don't, outside of a 2 liter of cola, I'm just gonna stop.
Is that equal to quarts? Or that's the closest thing?
I don't know. Isn't it weird though that we do get pop in liters, like 2 liters?
Yeah. Except I usually go for the 20-ounce bottles,
It's weird.
12-ounce cans.
I'm gonna look this up.
There you go, Perry. 3.5 liters.
Your gallon is
Oh, okay, I
3.5
got you.
liters.
So
So
it's
when
actually
Rod
closer to
Farva
a
got a
gallon.
liter of cola, what was he getting? Like a quart? That's still a lot of pop.
Yeah, it's closer to a quart, I'd say. I don't know.
Yeah. This says a 1 liter equals 0.264 US liquid gallon. So it's actually closer to, yeah, that's 3.5 is probably right. It's barely over kind of a fourth of a gallon.
Okay. Yeah, I was trusting Perry on the 3.5. I'm sure he knows better than we do.
Well, Google knows everything.
Don't know me. I'm not from around here.
So it's got to be close to a quart then, right? It's got to be close to a quart. So, but at least I know about loonies and toonies, Perry. I know about loonies and toonies. It's kind of hard to forget though.
So
I would-
Perry's Canadian?
Yeah.
Right on.
I would love to know the origin story for loonies and toonies though. Like there's got to be one, right? There's got to be. Perry asks, going back to intelligent conversation here, what would Kansas City need to do in the? I'm assuming this is supposed to be in the red zone. Is that your question, Perry? What does Kansas City need to do in the red zone?
That'd be my guess. Which I say do the old jet sweep. See what Hardman or Kadarius Toney, since he's back, can do.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not really a question that you can answer, right, until the game starts, because most everything
See how they're lining up and what kind of pressure they're getting.
Yeah, most everything is going to be predicated on that opening script. Of course, they'll make some adjustments on both sides throughout the game, but most everything is going to be predicated on that opening script. We're going to find out what the 49ers game plan is, because they might not stay static. They might not play, so much zone. Zone cover. Kansas City's offense against the 49ers zone. If that's what you're asking, I think the biggest part of that is just, and maybe this is kind of a cop out, but I think a big part of it is just Travis Kelce. He's going to find holes in the zone. Andy Reid has his zone plays, right? He has he has his plays for cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, all of them. I'm not going to go through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but he's got his plays for all of these things. And Travis Kelce is kind of the it doesn't matter guy, right? Because generally you're going to have, half of your field, you might have a play on, right? If you do like a 3x2, you might have a play on or 3x1 in your running back, where your left side, the look that you're getting from the defense, shouts cover 2. And the right side shouts they're going to be playing man. And Andy's going to have plays, and I'm not like it's only Andy, right? But he's going to have those plays to where the left side is going to be a cover 2 zone beater concept, and the right side, is going to be a man beater concept. And no matter what, you're going to have Travis Kelce who's going to find a way to get open, right? He's kind of like the, break glass in case of emergency. Even if the defensive coordinator wins this play, Travis Kelce gives you kind of that second chance on the play, Mahomes and Kelce. They have their plays. I'm sure they've watched a lot of film. They've talked to some of their guys who have already played the 49ers this season, right? Doug Peterson and the Jags played the 49ers this season. Mike Kafka and the Giants played the 49ers this season. So I would imagine that they have a pretty good idea, right? And they have a pretty good idea of how they want to attack similar offenses, how the 49ers want to attack similar offenses. And they're going to be ready for that. I think I talked about this last night and maybe even last week, but, Wilkes made some great adjustments against the Lions, and one of the big ones I saw get talked about was the linebacker who followed Jahmyr Gibbs when he went out, when Goff motioned him out, and Goff thought that the 49ers were in man because of it. And they were playing zone, and he got fooled on that play. I don't think you're going to see much of that happening in this game because Kansas City likes to motion. They like to, especially when they're in 2 tight end sets, they like to motion both at the same time. And you're not going to be able to play that trick against them, motioning 2 guys at the same time. You're not going to pull 2 guys over and make them think you're playing man while you're playing zone. And if you get creative somehow and you do that, well, good luck, because chances are Travis is going to find a way to get open anyway. But again, I think the answer comes to whatever gets revealed by the 49ers during that opening script. Gooch, the question we're answering is, what does our offense need to do against the 49ers zone defense to win?
Not drop passes.
Yep. Agreed.
And run the ball. The Niners are susceptible to the run. And
That's what Terry was saying.
Pacheco should have a decent against their defense.
Right.
Hey, Scott, I had a buddy. I want to answer Scott's question. I had a buddy, somebody I know bought some dominoes in Illinois and Indiana, and they're trash. So I was going to help him out. And I'm kind of going to be back and forth helping him out. And the town, if you want to look it up, It's Effingham, Effingham. I've never heard of it either, but it has a big cross
That's
in the middle of
awesome.
town.
Sounds
So-
British.
Just in case you're wondering, like, I don't go to Illinois that much, but I'm apparently driving through it now, or it was the tail end of Indiana, one of the two. But I would look it up, and you can tell me where it is. The best thing I can do about those states is go home. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yes.
I think even though San Francisco is favored and everybody's picking the Chiefs to win, I think that's why. I think we should have a pretty decent time against their defense, because it's not the defense that we saw 4 years ago. And Spags, I think with EB coming in, lighting a fire underneath them before the Baltimore game, and I'm sure he's going to pop up now and talk to him too, I think, and probably give some stuff to Andy. If Andy remembers that he has a running back who can run the ball and the receivers don't revert back to mid-season receivers, I think we'll be fine. I mean, you don't have Hufanga, so really all you have to worry about is, the best linebacker in the game right now, Fred Warner.
And Greenlaw. He can
Oh, is
cover
Greenlaw
some
playing?
roles. As far as I know.
I thought I heard he was hurt. Maybe not.
He did get hurt, but I don't know how serious it was. But yeah, Greenlaw, I think, is more against the run. But yeah, he can cover some too.
He can cover a hell of a lot of real estate in the past. Let me see.
But yeah, they're one of the best two linebackers. I guess I should say linebacking duo.
Let's see if I can find anything out. Yeah, I don't see anything on here about Greenlaw.
That would be great, KB. I hope they start slow too. Hey, Scott Farage. Good to see you.
Yeah, I don't see anything. Yeah, it seems like between EB coming last week and the well, a little bit over a week now. And
back on the coaching staff?
No, he came back to address the team for the AFC Championship game.
Just to pump them up.
Yeah, which it's kind of an interesting thing and kind of a weird thing at the same time, right? And like Mahomes mentioned it and MVS mentioned it. MVS's comments were interesting in itself because he said something to the effect of, EB yells at everybody from Andy Reid to the janitor, so you tune him out. But basically, MVS said, he kind of realized he missed it a little bit and maybe took it for granted. And, which, I mean, I think that's kind of maybe where EB is great in doses type of thing. But, like a constant, that being his constant, like default personality probably doesn't make him the greatest coach in the world. You know what I mean? Like, you can't constantly be yelling at guys. Or just as MVS said, guys start to tune you out. And he said that. He's like, tune him out. Began to tune him out. He yells at everybody, I mean, raise your hand if you like to get yelled at.
I don't mind it. I grew up with the Marine
all day, every day, just like getting yelled at. You're cool with that?
Yeah, they're not gonna touch what my dad yelled at me. Marines don't play, man. I'll be right back, though.
I hope so, Perry. If they keep whining like they have been, it wouldn't surprise me a little bit. But a good chunk of this team is still part of the team that lost to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54. So there's some desire for revenge there, but I think that as far as coming out flat or not is, I don't think the players necessarily will. It might look that way for one side or the other, simply because of coaching. But again, it's we're looking at two great coaching staffs going at it. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Does Kansas City move on from Matt Nagy? Everybody who's Chiefs fans in the chat, you can answer, Perry, if you want. I know when Aaron's able to get back in here and comment, he'll have his own opinion. I personally don't think it really matters. I think Kansas City needs to add to the staff no matter what they do at the offensive coordinator position. It's like, for all the nagging, no pun intended, that Nagy was taking this year, people got quiet once there was a collective effort to really get focused and hone in on things leading up to the playoffs. Like, nobody's questioning, discipline now. No one's questioning focus or any of these things. And it kind of goes to an interesting dynamic. Again, going back to what MVS said, like, if you're constantly getting yelled at every day and stuff, like, over the course of 20 games in a season, that's going to get old really fast. You know what I mean? Especially grown men by a grown man. Especially if that grown man was the offensive coordinator and he was doing it to the head coach. Was Nagy maybe too much of an extreme in the opposite way? Maybe. But at the end of the day, whatever they needed, they basically got the last 5, 6, 7 weeks. So I don't know, and I honestly don't care. To me, the biggest thing is I want to see a veteran wide receiver coach, and I'll just keep saying this. Bring in Kurt Warner quarterly, not as a coach, but as a consultant, as an outside consultant. Right? Let him help you with your self-scouting, your self-evaluations. Let him help Patrick Mahomes, on some of these finer things of quarterback play. let him ask Andy and Matt and anyone else who's in on designing plays, hey, why are you doing this? Or why is this your progression? And not in like an annoying, demeaning way, but in a serious way, because at the very least, even if you already know the answer, you have to think about things, right? All right, he's asking this question, so maybe there's a better way to do this. Let me think about that. Is there really a better way to do this? Right? I love questions. Like,
Boom.
you can't help but to learn from questions. Even if you already know the answer, if you have to think about it, you're still, you're putting yourself in a better situation than you are without questions. But Aaron, what do you think? Doesn't matter. We're going to move on from Nagy. Do we need to move on from Nagy?
It may not be a bad idea. You see Mahomes always doing this. Give me the play. He doesn't get him in on time, and then I traced it back to that New England AFC championship that we lost. And he's the one that's not good with the time management.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Getting blamed.
I think we've had issues with that for multiple years, but I'm going to check on it.
I didn't think we did with Eric.
Well, I mean, those guys are just calling in whatever Andy calls in, right? So,
but I really like the Kurt Warner. Go ahead and bring him in as the offensive coordinator. I'd love to see what.
Now, see, I didn't even say that. I just said as a consultant, but Aaron's saying bring him in as the offensive coordinator.
You can start him as a consultant this Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, why not? That's what I'm saying. Just like bring him in. For me, it's like you don't have to even make him a member of the staff. Just bring him in as a consultant, like every quarter. I don't know that he wants to, get into NFL coaching because of the time and energy commitment, right? But if you just go spend a week in Kansas City, every month and a half or so, I mean, that's a different story. And just, talk about.
He may make more money being on TV.
That too.
We know Brady is.
Let me see.
That's some bitch.
I'm trying to do this. Okay. So I'm going to look up these stats.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Perry. It's hard to say. And it doesn't take up as much of his time as football would, especially being an offensive coordinator. But yeah, you may bring him in as a quarterback coach. I think you started to say that, Keys.
Yeah, I don't know like what he's looking for. All right. Are you ready to be shocked now, Aaron?
Absolutely. Always.
Okay. In the 2023 season, the average number of delay of game penalties per team league-wide was 5.09. The Chiefs in 20 games have 2. According to NFLpenalties.com. The Vikings had the most. In 17 games, they had 11. Followed by the Bengals in 17 games with 10. The Packers with 10 in 19 games. Then Detroit with 8 in 20 games. The Ravens had 7 in 19 games. So a lot of these playoff teams. But yeah, according to this, Kansas City has only had 2 delay of game penalties in 20 games.
I can't disagree with that, Daryl. I wouldn't mind him coming back as a running backs coach. But I don't know about Pacheco. He wasn't the most respectful of him. If you saw last year's Super Bowl, no, calm down. After EB's telling him to calm down.
I don't think that you could ever be so audacious to even give him that offer. Like, I think offering him a running back coach position is super disrespectful.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't even think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can.
I would just want that, and I agree with Daryl. He was a great running back coach.
So last year, Aaron, we had 3 in 20 games. So this year 2, last year 3. League average last year was 5.31 delay of game penalties. So I mean, every year, we're still under. And these numbers, man, I'm with you because anecdotally, right, it just feels like we've had games where we had way more than that. 2021, we had 1.
I kind of say cut out the middleman though.
And
they just all get on the same page and let Mahomes take over after the script.
2020, there was 1. Wow, delay of game penalties have went up the last couple of years. 2020, the average was 3.84. So, man, Minnesota again. Minnesota's on here like every year for tops or in the top.
Is it Connell?
You mean Cousins? No, because O'Connell got there, what, 22? 21, 22?
I'm not sure. I know he didn't even get nominated for Coach of the Year when he should have.
Yeah, he's been the head coach
year?
since 2022. Where was he at before then?
Okay, yeah, it would have been last year then.
Yeah, he was the Rams offensive coordinator before 2022. But yeah, this is like 2020. They had 7 in 16 games in 2020. The Vikings did. Uh, 2021. They had 3. So yeah, that was lower. It's weird. There's probably not a whole lot of great explanation for it. Yeah, Kansas City basically averaged 1 a year from 2018 through 2021. And then 2022 took a little bit of a jump to 3, and this year it was 2. So, but yeah. Some guys need to be yelled at and some guys don't. Hey, yeah, I'm not saying that players don't need it, sometimes. But all the time? No, I don't think so. Just like players don't need it. Even the players that need to be kind of coddled, they don't need to be coddled all the time, right? In the midst of a 20-21 game season, that stuff gets old. Like you just don't, and like MBS said, you start to tune it out. Like you don't want to get to the place you're doing it and players start tuning you out. So you can't do it all the time or they're going to tune you out. If they did move on from Nagy, who would you like to bring in? You want to start, Aaron?
Well, I pretty much already said when you brought up Kurt Warner.
Yeah, Kurt Warner.
If he's willing to leave TV money, yeah. Like Perry agreed.
I think the learning curve for Kurt Warner for Andy's offense, and I only say that because every time I watch one of his breakdowns of our offense, there's at least a few plays where he's like, I'm not sure what they're trying to do here. And it's kind of like, yeah, welcome to Andy's offense, welcome to Pat's offense, welcome to Travis Kelce's offense. But I don't know. It seems like the natural answer would be Bieniemy, but who's the next guy up? Type of thing. The quarterbacks coach, David Gerard, is that right? David Girardi.
I don't know. You and Gooch pay more attention to that.
Yeah, David Girardi is the quarterbacks coach. So I would think he's probably the next man up for offensive coordinator. Because the guy that's working with the quarterbacks in this offense just tends to get it. But Andy sees what Andy sees, so he sees stuff in guys. So
what to learn from a Super Bowl quarterback, though, I think would be priceless.
Yeah.
Game was a little different in his day, but he threw the ball quite a bit.
I love Kurt Warner's thought process. I don't know if you guys watch his videos. I don't know if you guys watch his QB confidential stuff, but he has fantastic stuff. And he tweeted a video the other day because some people on Twitter, other quarterbacks and other coaches at various levels, it kind of got into this big discussion about pure progressions and why he doesn't like pure progressions. And he made this video, or he shared a video he'd already made in the past, about his problem with pure progressions, going, 1 to 5 across the field, and how unrealistic it is. You watch the video and the way, he's breaking everything down for people and he's making his case on there, right? Because part of it's a matter of timing. You can't have, if you're number 3 guy and number 4 guy in their progressions have the exact same timing of when you expect them to be open, that's not a very good designed play, right? That's not going to work. If you're working your way from 1 to 5 and you're already on 3, but 3 and 4, their routes have the same timing, you got a problem. Just like one, small example of it. And so, he's got a great approach there. I don't know how much Mahomes doesn't already know, but I like the idea of having him in Kansas City in some capacity, even if it's, in training camp every year, visiting with him during the off season and sitting down with him, a few days, whatever, in some capacity, period. I think would be absolutely great for him. But, you can get the same thing. I'd love to see him do the same thing with Joe Montana, and other great quarterbacks. Tom Brady, while he's beating him at a round of golf.
Well, I saw Montana at San Francisco's game. He was being honored, but still.
Yeah,
I'd say he's leaning that way.
Especially
after we beat him last time.
If Super Bowl 54 was any kind of indication, he was actually pretty middle of the road. In that. I don't know if you caught the special telecast, the alternative
with Brett Favre
broadcast with Brett Favre and was it Drew Brees, I believe. in Montana for that, he seemed to be fairly impartial. Doesn't mean he's going to be impartial this time, but
Right. I don't think he is this time. Since we beat him last time, maybe it'd be the opposite. Maybe.
I don't know. I like to think that Joe Montana enjoyed his time in Kansas City, and how he was embraced by Chiefs fans, and now that we're winning, even more so. But yeah, I don't know. Players are weird like that. They seem to, like, the last place they go seems to be kind of like the place where, whether it's Tony and the Falcons, Lawrence Tynes and the Giants, like, there's no loyalty. Tony Richardson, I want to say, in the Vikings. Is it the Vikings? Did he go from the Chiefs to the Vikings? I think he went to the Jets as well, but I don't remember before or after. But yeah, some of these guys are just heartbreakers because they're just like, they're rooting for these other teams instead of Kansas City, even though they played for Kansas City
way longer.
Do you feel Eric Bieniemy can teach guys and coach them up? I think he can hold guys accountable. I think he can.
Absolutely, he can do that.
I think to an extent he can lead guys, and get them fired up. 100%. He'll push them. It's just what point do you exhaust your bit of yelling all the time, right? You got to give guys breathers from that. Daryl says EB needs to go back to coaching running backs. Oh, you already talked about that. Do you think the Vikings got the right GM?
Who's their GM?
Kwesi Adolfo Mensah.
Huh?
I think he's an analytics guy. He went to Princeton. He began his career with the 49ers. He was a manager of football research and development. Worked under Trent Baalke and John Lynch. Then he was hired by the Browns to be their vice president of football operations. And then a couple of years ago was the new general manager of the Vikings. Yeah, I don't really follow the Vikings. Well, their drafts enough off the top of my head.
After quarterbacks, I have more. I like Kurt Warner.
Do you feel some offensive playbooks are too much to learn for guys, or not sure where we're going there, but
obviously some of the receivers.
Yes. The answer is yes, and I think they did simplify some of that, right?
That's what they said.
I want to say Eli Manning, right? During the Manning cast of the Chiefs and Eagles game, kind of highlighted the Eagles had a much more simplistic playbook than the Chiefs. And I believe it was Eli. I don't think it was Peyton. I think it was Eli was talking about, how he believed that one of the main reasons the receivers were struggling. And when you add in 7 wide receivers, it is just the expansiveness of plays that are in the playbook. And because of that, right, you're not practicing the same plays every week. Eagles players were, according to Eli, were basically practicing mostly the same plays every week. So you get good at them, right? You learn to perfect those plays. Chiefs playbook is so big, you're not practicing every play every week. You're not getting to that point where you can perfect it. And then you start adding in all the nuanced things, the choice routes, especially for the young guys, the rookie receivers and the sophomore receivers, if the cornerback, it is shading me this way, how do I run this route differently? And you're having to think that, on the fly for every single route you're running for every single play. And it's just too much, especially when you're not practicing it enough. And so, I think a lot of what we saw get better was them simplifying the wide receiver room and them simplifying the amount of plays that they were going over. Because at the end of the day, if you're having to constantly think, it's mentally exhausting you, right? One of the reasons that Andy Reid teams do so well at the end of games when every moment becomes heightened and more crucial is because of how physically conditioned they are, that Andy emphasizes before the season begins. But mentally, you can get exhausted really easily, especially if you're a wide receiver and you're constantly having to think through all of these. Okay, what am I supposed to do with this choice route if I'm seeing this? And you don't practice it enough to, just have it as muscle memory. You get exhausted, you start dropping passes, you start, running your routes incorrectly, running the wrong routes, you start messing up because you're mentally exhausted. So that's my answer is yes. Some offensive playbooks for young guys who haven't been in those offenses, for 2, 3, 4 years. And the Chiefs playbook is notorious for that, being hard for guys. What we're seeing this year out of Rashee Rice compared to other Andy Reid receivers is historic.
Yes. And I think we used him the right way this season. And I think him practicing with Mahomes all off season, or pretty much all off season, did a lot of good. And I think it may have helped Zay Flowers as well.
Yeah.
So I think it is muscle memory for Rice. I think he's practiced with Mahomes enough to where he's blowing up. It's amazing what he's done as a rookie.
Yeah. 100% so. And I mean, I don't think you have a reason to not expect bigger things from him next year. We still need to add to the wide receiver room, probably the tight end room as well. But
yeah,
I mean, thinking back to it, outside of Dwayne Bowe, maybe in the last 30 years, Aaron, has there been a rookie wide receiver you were more excited for than
that we got? I was excited for Baldwin, but he turned out to be kind of a bust.
Yeah, I was gonna say because obviously we didn't know what to expect out of Rashee Rice, but excited for at least halfway through the season, maybe the end of that first season, right? Like at the end of that first season, you're like, oh God, we actually got a legit receiver. I don't know that it's happened in 30 years outside of Dwayne Bowe.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that.
Because, Tyreek had a pretty decent season for a rookie under Andy Reid.
And he was mostly a return guy, but
yeah.
He'd run it. They'd throw it to him. He was still electric.
He turned himself, as Jalen Ramsey called him, an all-pro returner. He turned himself from an all-pro returner into an all-pro caliber wide receiver, over his first 2, 3, 4 years, part of which
He really applied himself.
that first season, I want to say, was under David Culley, who I would love to have back as the wide receiver coach. David Culley was Kansas City's wide receiver coach and Andy Reid's assistant head coach. I want to say Tyreek's first season, right? And Tyreek talked about him, I want to say earlier this season. I don't remember if it was on his podcast or what, but it was like David Culley was his welcome to the NFL moment because, Tyreek, came in and David Culley told him, hey, listen, I don't give a crap what you did in college or before now. This is the NFL. You got to go out and prove it because anything you did before now doesn't matter. It's not going to keep you here.
We needed him to say that to McCole too, though.
Obviously,
McCole could be up there if he freaking applied himself. He has all the talent in the world. Yes.
Yeah. But
yeah, his rookie season, I was super impressed with him too, McCole. But he's gone downhill since then.
Every year, every year seems to have gotten worse. But yeah, I mean, at the end of a season, like you're just like, oh wow, we got a legit receiver. I think Dwayne Bowe is the one guy as far back as my memory goes. And that's like early 90s.
Yeah.
I could be missing a guy. Obviously, Tony Gonzalez at tight end, but talking wide receivers, even Dante Hall, he didn't even become like, they didn't even really use him as a receiver until he had like his most explosive return year, if I recall correctly. And then that's when they started kind of using him how Andy used Tyreek that first year, kind of in that same way. Right. So yeah, I mean, Rashee Rice, Dwayne Bowe, I think the last 30, 40 years, like those are the two guys that it's been like at the end of their rookie seasons, regular season, you'd be like, hey, I think we got a legit receiver here.
I also don't want to see McCole back there returning punts.
Nope.
Either Richie or Kadarius since he's back. I've never liked him returning punts since his rookie year. And I think, yeah, we'd throw Hill back there here and there then.
Scott asks, what will the impact of Brant Tillis heading to the Panthers be? Scott, hopefully the biggest impact of this move will be Brant Tillis having less rings than he would have if he had continued to stay in Kansas City for another 5 years or so. It's a great question. I don't really know the answer to it, to be honest, because I don't know the next man up, what abilities the other guys in the front office have. Obviously, he's been great with the cap. You just hope that you got a next Brant Tillis there, waiting. And so
I think it'll be good. I think he'll bring in some good offensive linemen. Or help bring in. But yeah, the way he manages the cap, I loved him here.
If Kansas City loses, would you be mad losing a close game? I think for me, it depends on how you lose that game.
Right. It could be frustrating, but they are a damn good team. I don't think I could feel too bad about it.
Yeah. And, I think part of it also is what happens in the off season, because you might get more angrier in the off season, right? Like if this is Chris Jones's last game as a Chief and this is L'Jarius Sneed's, like if you went to the worst case scenario, right, where Sneed and Jones go to free agency and Andy and Travis retire, all of a
And
sudden,
you're
I think
saying Willie Gay and Bolton leave, and I
Bolton
mean, what's the
has.
extent of worst case scenario?
I want to say Bolton has one more season left. Yes,
Thought this
Bolton
was his
is under
first year.
contract for 2024.
So this is his third year.
Yeah, this is year
Okay.
number 3. Yeah.
I thought it was both of them next year.
So
And
that
then
helps a
Jones
little
and
bit.
Snead.
And yeah, they're going to have some interesting choices to make, as far as Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil's on a 1-year deal. So,
Damn.
he's going to be a free agent. Willie's going to be a free agent,
And how much of an impact has Tranquil had in this 1 year? He's been awesome.
Huge, right? So, what do they try to do
Having 3
there?
great linebackers makes a ton of difference, especially if one gets hurt.
I'm always going to look, Perry. I'm always going to lose. I'm always going to be mad if we lose. Even a close game. But it's really going to come down to why for how mad I get. David Colley
will be at first.
Oh, I would be for a long time.
I think I'd get over it with how good
It took me 2 years to trust Andy again after his Super Bowl 55 game plan. So it took literally Super Bowl 57 game plan for.
I know it is a sour spot for you.
But Perry, why did David Colley leave? He went to the Texans, right? He became their head coach or offensive coordinator. I want to say
Mahomes was all over the place on a hurt ankle, and we just got destroyed.
Oh, excuse me. So Colley left.
Just two.
Colley left to become the Bills quarterback coach during the 2017 and 18 seasons. Then he was the assistant head coach again and wide receivers coach of the Ravens from 19 to 20 and their passing game coordinator under John Harbaugh, excuse me. And then he became the Texans head coach in 2021 and got a little bit of a raw deal. But yeah, he was Andy's wide receiver coach and assistant head coach, and he was John Harbaugh's wide receiver coach and assistant head coach and passing game coordinator.
There's Dan. Hey, Dan.
So, hey, Dan.
Don't forget to go check out his channel. Dan Talks Football.
Yep, Dan. Well, most of the guys in here already know, but yeah. Dan's live.
Gator and Perry do.
Tuesday nights and Friday nights, 7 p.m. to whenever he gets done. And live streams during, does play-by-play live streams during Chiefs games. So, which means he can't take showers anymore. So if the Chiefs lose, it's Dan's fault. You've heard it here first.
Or he'll take a break for however long it takes for a shower for him. I don't know how we consider this.
Well, he took like 5 showers.
Still don't know his breakdown though.
Yeah, I don't know the routine. What was it, Super Bowl 57? He took like 5 showers before or during halftime or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't know. I don't even know how the shower thing works. But
yeah, Perry, in a heartbeat, Snead.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think between age for Jones, a little bit of attitude for Jones, but I don't know if you
for me.
I don't know if you guys saw this yet, but it was James, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name now? I'll get it here.
Richie James?
No, not Richie James, the reporter. James Palmer. There we go. Yeah, James Palmer came out with a thing today on L'Jarius Sneed. And part of it was that Spags and the coaching staff believes that if they had to play him a linebacker, that he could do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
He's
not shy in the running game.
One of the things that he talked about specifically, though, is that I believe it was last season, one of these last, couple seasons or so, Sneed had been staying after practices with Nick Bolton to go over run fits on defense. So like he wants to play everywhere. Right.
I like that. I didn't know that.
Sneed can play outside. Listen, Perry. Sneed can play outside. He can play inside. He can play safety. As you just heard here, he can probably play linebacker. He
played safety in college his last year.
Yeah, they needed him to, and he did.
Never an attitude.
Shut down number one wide receivers. I mean, he can press. You saw, I'm sure, how he frustrated Tyreek Hill and threw him to the ground, in that playoff game over and over again. He's a hell of a blitzer. I mean, he's such a versatile piece to this defense.
And he follows around the best wide receiver they have every game this year. There's times we go zone and he's not, but he typically follows them around.
This is 100% true, Perry. After the Super Bowl, I think that's probably when Brett Veach will be at his most focused for this. But you have what? A little under a month to get I personally think that what they might do is give Sneed and Chris Jones fairly strong offers. And if one of them signs, the other one's getting tagged. And then it's going to be, it's going to be part their attitude and part their contract demands of whether that becomes a tag and trade or they can work something out. So
I think they tag and trade Jones.
Ideally, they do exactly what Perry said here. They get Sneed extended and they tag Jones, and then the ball is in his court as to whether he's getting traded somewhere or whether, he wants to come back for a few more years and become the next Charles Haley.
And he's as close to a shutdown corner as you get in today's NFL.
The answer for this is definitely no. They have some things that they'll do and can do. And we saw that, Perry, you saw it the first week of the season without Chris Jones.
I think Turk is as close as you can get. In the building.
They were rumored to have tried to trade up with Dallas and were supposedly wanting to take Mozzie Smith. But Dallas wanted him and wouldn't trade up with Kansas City. So I think that's kind of, where they were wanting to go when they did that. But I think your best bet is free agency and Christian Wilkins. We'll see. Dean says you could have holdouts. Yeah, we had one this last season. Trey Smith is a guy I believe is going to hold out. He could. Here's the problem though, right? Trey is fun to watch pancake and he's fun to watch in the run game, but he's had some issues in the pass game But where I think the biggest issue for Trey is if he wants to hold out, we just saw Joe Tooney, who's an all-pro, get injured. And the offensive line didn't really miss a beat with Nick Allegretti in there against the Ravens. So
He's had a lot of practice. And I've always liked Allegretti.
I think if you want to go that route as a guard, I think it's kind of good luck to you because I think the Chiefs can replace a guard if they have to, right? We're not talking about replacing the center, even though, they've done that before. You're certainly not talking about replacing offensive tackle. But if you can see Joe Tooney get replaced, and the offense not really, miss a beat, it's not like Chris Jones holding out, right? It wouldn't be like L'Jarius Sneed holding out. So,
and I don't think George. I think George is getting off the ball really well, and he's creating pressure all on his own. So I don't think he needs Jones to be successful.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
No,
it doesn't hurt, but
definitely not.
But
Jones is all pro caliber.
Yeah, I wish I could.
I don't know what
numbers here
Aaron's done this year, but I know he was better than him last year. Seems like he got hurt this year. I can't even think of his last name. The Rams guy, Aaron something.
Donald.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to wake up. I got about 10 minutes. I need to get in the shower. Hopefully that'll help wake me up.
Yeah, I'm trying to look.
So while he's looking that up, people can tell me about the beard. Does it look to everybody like I don't have hair here? Or is it just Gooch on his phone and half blind? I got gray on the sides too. But not on top of my head. No gray.
All right. So here's what I'll say to answer this, Perry, because I know that you're a Lions fan, right? And I know week 1 was what? 20, 21, 22 weeks ago now, right? So we all kind of, have had plenty of time to forget. See if I can find it here. So no Chris Jones. The Chiefs recorded 10 pressures in that game. Now, I want to remind everyone, the Lions have a stud offensive line, right? If you don't believe me, just ask Lions fans. Chiefs got 10 pressures. George Karlaftis got 3 of those. So that's without Chris Jones in week 1 against that offensive line. So
is Perry a Denver fan?
Perry is a Lions fan.
Oh, that's what I meant. I started thinking a Denver Gator for some reason, but Perry and Detroit. That's what I meant. I was thinking he was.
So, according to Over the Cap, the Chiefs have
Sorry, but Perry.
$24 million in cap space next season. They have a lot of ways to free up a lot of cap space, namely Patrick Mahomes' contract.
How much did you say?
According to Over the Cap, $24 million. And that's, based off of what they're projecting the cap will be next year, right?
Really?
Um,
Jeez, that's not as much as I would like.
well, I mean,
I know
they
we
they
can
can
get
create
down to
a lot.
like 40, but
Yeah. Well, you can get past 40 just in some of the stuff they do with Mahomes' contract.
if they decide to, which I think it's the year that it shoots up a ton, isn't it?
Yeah, his cap number is $57 million next year. So I think
Yep.
that's
Okay. That's the year I'm thinking of for sure.
And then 2025, it shoots up. 2025 and 26, it shoots up to the 60s. So, it's
he's
really
worth it,
high
but
next
yeah,
4
you
years.
can't run a team like that.
No,
we're gonna have to move it around.
I think if Gooch was here, he'd say you're going to see an extension. But they're gonna do some stuff. They front loaded, they front loaded money.
I think.
Yeah, they front loaded money to up what his average is over the next few years. But they can do some work on his contract. They can do some work on Joe Tooney's contract if they want to extend him. If Jawan Taylor is in their plans, moving forward, he has $19.5 million of base salary that they can, easily convert 18 million of, like they have plenty of avenues. Same thing with Travis. They can extend him. They can cut that base salary down. Justin Reed, MVS, whether they cut him, they can rework some contracts or cut guys, and they can get to a fairly decent place there. But yeah, namely Mahomes' contract. He's got a $57 million cap hit, but about 14 million of that they can play with.
Mahomes is making all kinds of money off commercials, so he's going to be fine with restructuring, and he has been every time. They've done it quite a bit already. I want to say 3 times already. Well, last year was an extension, or was it this year? Yeah, I think it was this off season actually.
I'm not 100% sure what you're asking here, Perry. Would we want them to restructure Mahomes, or would we want them to extend him? You're throwing money. Either way, you're kicking the can.
I don't think he gets mad about it. That's what he's trying to say.
Oh, would you make Mahomes mad? Okay, would you make him mad by that? No. When he signed the contract, originally he understood, this was going to be like a year-to-year thing.
Part of it, he was leaving money on the table for other guys.
Part of it was to give flexibility, right? To give the team flexibility as needed every year.
Or you don't sign a 10-year contract.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady was married to Giselle, and if you ask Dan, there is some shady business between Robert Kraft and going into business with TB12 or whatever.
Giselle made a ton more money than he did.
Yeah. So he understands, right? Just being in this Super Bowl, as I understand it, is its own NFL record, because no quarterback who has been, I don't know if I can say this right. I don't know if it's for the team or in the NFL total, like the number one guy, the number one highest salary cap number or percentage of the cap, whatever. Like he's the highest percentage of the cap of any quarterback to ever make the Super Bowl. It's never happened before. And he understands, right? And it was their choice to do it when they did it. Like, he understands all the implications of everything. And, you know, it doesn't hurt him at all in this case, because you're talking about roster bonus, right? When you're talking about taking roster bonus and you're converting it into signing bonus. And it's never going to make the player mad, because when you're taking roster bonus, you know, that's paid out for whatever the year is, you know, this particular year or that particular year. Right. And when you pay it out as signing bonus, they still get the money right then and there. Right. You don't have to be on. You're getting the money right then and there. You're getting the whole thing. But for salary cap purposes, that can be split onto five years equally. You know, so that's why you do it. That's why you go from a roster bonus to a signing bonus, because it can be prorated over those 5 years. So the player's getting all that money up front that's paid, you know, that's being converted into a signing bonus. So why would they be mad? You know, they're getting it all right now. But for the salary cap purposes, a roster bonus, you know, is all counted the year of the bonus. A signing bonus can be covered up to 5 years. So player gets the money now, but it's like 1/5 of the amount that it would have been against your salary cap as a team, you know? And so the problem is you kick the can down the road, but the hope is that the salary cap jumps every year more and more and more to where it doesn't matter. And when you got your Amazon deals coming in, you have the NFL testing, you know, NBC with the Peacock stuff going on and everything else. That's a decently reasonable expectation that the salary cap is just going to keep jumping and jumping. You know, we're playing games in Europe, we're playing games in South America, Central America, you know, expanding markets.
Isn't it Brazil next?
Yeah. I think Rio, did I see, or something like that? Rio de Janeiro or somewhere around there. And so, yeah, you know, you kick it down the road a little bit, but you know, at some point Mahomes is going to have a really big salary cap hit, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it. You hope by then that the salary cap has jumped so much that as a percentage of the salary cap that it's not as big. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But Mahomes isn't mad. He understands the business part of it. And to be honest, the restructure they did this year that he wanted to do, you know, was to raise the contracts for all the new quarterbacks. And I don't think that's as much because he wants to be friendly. I think it's because he knows it's a competitive advantage for Kansas City if you have guys like Daniel Jones making $40-45 million, and they're not anywhere close to the talent of Patrick Mahomes, because all of a sudden you're screwing a lot of teams, making them pay $45, $55, $65 million a year for quarterbacks that aren't in Mahomes' league. And that can only hurt those teams in their roster construction, because you better have a dang good head coach. You better have a dang good GM. And you better have a lot of luck on your side. That's what I think.
I think he's going to make his cameo.
There are a lot of offensive tackles in the draft. Should Kansas City release Taylor and draft a guy in the draft? Do you guys want to move on from Taylor? We can't in 2024. The cap hit is way too big for 2024. After that, I mean, whatever Andy Reid and Andy Heck want to do, they're the offensive line gurus. They obviously saw something that they liked in Taylor and wanted to bring in. Athletically, you know, he's miles and miles ahead of Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown athletically. you got to remember, one, this is his first year with Mahomes. Two, give him a year with Andy Heck, the Chiefs offensive line coach, great offensive line coach. Let him have a full offseason with Kansas City, with Andy Heck, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and a year to adjust to Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, putting an unnecessary spotlight on him, and see how he does for Kansas City then. And then
they waited till he's on
decision.
Kansas. They waited until he was on Kansas City to even start calling him for
right,
because he was doing it against us in the playoffs with Jacksonville.
Yeah, and he was doing
called.
it. He was doing it against which Bosa brother was it that was complaining?
Joey.
He was doing it against them, and they were crying about it. But yeah, Juwan Taylor has $34 million in cap hit in dead money in 2024. So you cannot cut him in 2024. He is a Kansas City Chief next year, no matter what. 2025, it's only $9.5 million in dead money, and they can save $15 million. So that might be a different, a completely different thing. But we got to see what 2024 looks like before we even talk about that. But realistically, they can't cut them next year anyway. So we won't be unless Aaron or Gooch want to.
No, nobody wants to see me during a game.
You don't want to see me during a game either.
I should be struck by lightning half the time.
Dan does a great job with his play-by-play. I'm too ADHD for it, and my reactions wouldn't be great. Dan says Eagles Browns week 1 in Brazil. How weird is that? Did they announce it's Browns? I saw that the Eagles would be hosting it.
That is definitely weird.
But yeah, that is weird. If it's is that to begin? That can't be to open the season, right?
It kind of looks that way.
It's always the defending champion, though, that opens the season, right?
They must have thought the Eagles were gonna win.
Yeah, I haven't.
They were both possibilities to get all the way with that defense of the Browns. Eagles defense kind of dropped off this year. And I guess their offense did too.
Yeah, I don't know if either is true. I don't see anything definitive. I see the Browns are one of 6 teams that they could play. And
who's the GM of the Saints?
And that won't be the first game of the season. No, that's a Friday night game. Whoever the Eagles play it's going to be a Friday. It's going to be Friday. So whoever wins the Super Bowl will be opening the season Thursday. And the Eagles will be playing
Sunday night.
The Eagles will be playing someone Friday in Brazil. So yeah, it'll be Thursday night, Friday night. Look at the NFL trying to take another night for football. Makes perfect sense. But that's what I'm seeing is Eagles Friday night. Whoever wins the Super Bowl will be opening Thursday. If they could find a way to do it, I'd imagine they're going to try to sneak some. But just do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Just have a whole opening week of football. I could see it. But I don't see the Browns unless Dan's saying Eagles or Browns. But what I saw looked definitive that the Eagles are opening up the season, but it didn't look like that their opponent has been announced other than like there's 6 possibilities. what I'm seeing.
Is that where our old GM went? Was the Saints? So if it is, there's no way they get under the cap. That guy destroys the cap.
Who is that?
I can't think of his name. Our old GM.
John Dorsey?
Yeah.
No, John Dorsey is a senior advisor for the Lions.
Okay. I thought he got a new
Let's see.
job elsewhere. Maybe it was the Lions I'm thinking of that he went to. But yeah, I hope he's not figuring out their cap.
All right. So yeah, so six possibilities is what I'm seeing. And this is a CBS News thing from yesterday, kind of breaking it down, right? So the Eagles have 9 home games. 8 home games. 9 home games. So the Brazil game counts as one. So it obviously it's not going to be any of their away opponents, which leaves Falcons, Panthers, Browns, Cowboys, Packers, Jags, Giants, Steelers, and Commanders. The Panthers and Jags already are hosting their own international games in 2024, with the Panthers set to play in Germany and Jacksonville set for its annual trip to London. So that basically eliminates them. And the justification here is that the Eagles are not going to want to have their home game against the Cowboys be a non-home game, which makes a lot of sense. But then, the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill was a prime matchup for Kansas City, and that game went to Kansas City in Frankfurt. So yeah, that's where they're getting their list of 6 teams from that it could possibly be.
I wanted to hit this question, and I need to get going. Do you think the NFL needs to expand rosters to 100 and go with 20 games a season? I think that's a bit much. I do think they need to expand a little bit on the rosters, but they've kind of started to do that with what you can have on the practice squad.
Yeah,
now.
Practice squad and practice squad elevations and resetting those for the playoffs, I think basically does everything you need to have. I think if you go too much farther, you're taking away from the USL. I think that's what they are calling themselves now after the merger USL.
I have no idea.
The USFL and XFL. And I think that's, going to be great as far as a developmental league. So, yeah, I think 20 games in a season's too much. And that, especially if you're then talking about playoffs, players are already getting injured. You're already talking about, you're not going to have your stars play 20 games plus playoffs. So what games are you going to set your starters? And whatever those games are games that fans aren't going to go to, you know what I mean? Or they're going to be really pissed that they bought tickets to a game and they lost the lottery because their star players aren't playing in those games.
And the NFL wants their money. But yeah, I better get going. It's great to see everybody. I appreciate Denver Gator and Perry coming in as well.
Yeah.
Daryl, have a good one. Dan, thanks for coming.
Have a great night have a great night at work, Aaron. It's probably going to feel like a week.
I will try.
Yeah.
Second to last day.
We'll see you. We're going to celebrate this week.
As we head KB to Province, Scott, my neighbor. Great to see everybody. We had higher numbers today than I think I've seen for a while. Have a good one.
Take care, Aaron. Brother. All right, we'll talk for just a couple more minutes here. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, but Yeah, kind of talked about Patrick Mahomes versus the 49ers defense there. It'll be interesting to see if Steve Wilkes, stay static, if they stay mostly in zone, or if they're going to try to man this thing. Spags' defense against the 49ers offense is going to be it's for one side, maybe both sides, probably not for 49ers or Chiefs fans if it's nerve-wracking, but it's probably for pure football intellectuals. They're going to enjoy the chess match of Kyle Shanahan versus Steve Spagnuolo. And so, yeah, Spags likes to move around a lot. The good thing for us is, we've now played them a few times, right? We played them in Super Bowl 54. We played them during the 2022 season when Kansas City won like 44-22. We had rookies in the secondary during that season, during that game, right? The defense has only gotten better. The biggest difference was that was CMC's first game as a 49er. It's Brock Purdy's first season with the 49ers. Now they're both in their first full season as starters for the 49ers. 49ers have a great offense. They do every year. The biggest weakness for the 49ers is going to be everybody else on the offensive line not named Trent Williams. So, I think that's going to be the big area, but it's going to be interesting because Kansas City is going to have a plan, right? Because we know that 49ers are going to want to run the ball a lot, and they're going to want to force our defensive players to make tackles. So, I think Chiefs have the special team edge in this one. It's no disrespect to Shanahan or Wilkes to say that Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo have a slight edge in that. Clearly quarterback advantage for Kansas City. The overall running back advantage is for the 49ers. Fullback, obviously 49ers, especially. It doesn't even matter that Kansas City, even if Kansas City still had one, it would still be 49ers. Tight end advantage, I'm still saying Kansas City, especially even after the Kelsey versus Kittle argument. Noah Gray, number 2 guy there. Like, unless you wanted to argue Yushik is basically their tight end number 2, and then it's a much closer fight here. Interior offensive line, without a doubt, is Kansas City. Offensive tackles, obviously Trent Williams is going to carry them. Once you factor in their right tackle, though, it might not be that big of an advantage. Wide receivers, 49ers have the advantage there. That's how I see it on offense for both of those teams. And as I've said on defense, 49ers have the front 7. Kansas City has the back 7 plus Chris Jones. So it's going to be fun and interesting to see what their game plans are. But yeah, on paper, this looks like a game Kansas City should win. Games aren't played on paper, though, right? Games are played any given Sunday. So I think I've hit everything that I can hit. My voice is starting to get out. I got to go to bed. I got to wake up to go to work early. So I want to thank you guys for being with us here. And I think Aaron and Gooch and Liz, and maybe I'll be able to join, are doing their final picks pool. I want to say Saturday. So be on the lookout for that. Liz closed the gap on me because of the Lions 49ers game. So thank you, Lions, for screwing me over and letting Liz tie me. So we're going into this tied for first place. So it should be way too much suspense for my taking. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here with us. If you didn't hit the like button, make sure you do that. We'll see what happens Sunday. Go Chiefs, guys.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war.